with greater certainty that we were going to play. So we usually have, 2 or 3 scrimmages through camp, and we had 1.5. So we have tackled. I think when you go into any game one, tackling's a concern. Football practices aren't like they were 20 years ago or 30 years ago that you're tackling every day. Typically during camp or during spring football, we may do 1 live period a week, or we have the 3 scrimmages over a 5-week period in spring football and 1 or 2 during camp. So we did scrimmage, we have tackled, but not nearly as much as we usually do. And I have no regrets doing that regardless of what happens on Saturday. To me, it was the responsible thing to do. I did not want to put our players at unnecessary risk until I really felt like, okay, we're playing. And about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, I was much more optimistic. I don't think anybody is ever positive, but I felt there's probably a greater than 90% chance we were going to play. And at that point, we had a scrimmage and we tackled, and fortunately, nobody got hurt in that scrimmage. But when you do scrimmage, you put players at risk, and I certainly have lost players with season-ending injuries in scrimmages. And I think myself and in talking to other head coaches, I'm not alone in this. I think a lot of us have done less of that because of the uncertainty.
Dave, are you prepared? Do you think it might be something that takes longer? Like in a normal year, you're always worried about it for the first game. Maybe guys settle into it. Is it going to take longer, you think, for guys to maybe, I don't know, missed tackles might be more prevalent, I guess, early on for college football?
Yeah, I don't know if we're playing the best team to play if you haven't tackled a lot of live. These guys are tough to tackle if you've been practicing for 3 or 4 months. But yeah, I think that's always part of the first game when you're live. That's probably, as a head coach, always my greatest concern going into the opener is how well are we going to tackle? And I think that's a skill that gets better as the season goes on. Now, we work on tackling every single day. We have a defensive tackle circuit that we work on. We have all of our offensive players go through that circuit once during camp, and we teach them how to tackle. But that's still something when you do it for 85 plays over a 3-hour period, that's different than doing it for an hour and a half in a scrimmage. So I think that's a normal concern every season, but I think it's a very intelligent question, Aaron, that given COVID, it's probably even a greater concern this year.
Dave, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. What 2 or 3 things does your team need to do in the first 3 quarters of the game Saturday for the fourth quarter to be meaningful?
I mean, we have to stay in it. We've actually played Clemson better when we weren't good. I think that we've gone into this game maybe a little uptight, and it got away from us early. And then by the time we settled down, they're a hard team to come back from. I think the big thing when you look at Clemson on offense is just how explosive they are. I think it's just important that we get the ball down. Lawrence is arguably the best quarterback in the country. Travis Etienne is arguably the best tailback in the country. They've got a great receiver core, even with what they lost. These guys, Amari Rogers, Powell, Nagta, these guys are big-time, awesome players. And we've got to just prevent big plays. When Etienne gets the ball in space, we got to try to get him down. And that's hard to do. You watch him against Ohio State. And, he can take a screen and he can take a draw. And he can make everybody miss against some of the very best teams in the country. So this is a team with an extremely high skill level, excellent systems on both sides of the football, and they're very well coached. So there's a reason they're the number 1 team in the country. So we have to stay in this game. That we cannot beat ourselves early with a turnover on our side of the field, then we give up a big play. And they're really good at managing that middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the first half and first 4 minutes of the second half. That's really where we let the game get away from us a year ago.
Is anybody out for COVID-19, whether it's a test or contact tracing at this point?
Yes, and we'll have players that are out, and we are, we're managing that, I think, really well. The number is very small. I'm not allowed to share the number, but it's not the positive. It's the contact tracing. That's what gets you. And our players live on campus and they live in suites, and if one guy gets it, it can knock 6 or 7 guys out. And so that's our challenge. But we're right now in relatively good shape. The last few testings have gone extremely well without getting into the details, but we still have 2 more to go.
Hey, Dave, 2 things. I was interested when you used the word uncertainty. Is there anything beyond what you talked about tackling that has particularly complicated your job at some point leading up to this when you didn't really know whether there was a season? I was curious how that would guide your decision-making over the past month or 2.
Well, part of it is we just didn't know when we got the players back what type of conditioning level they were in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were one of the last teams to come back in the ACC. I think we were second last and Duke was last. Or Virginia was on the late end of that too. And so really the first 4 weeks was just trying to get an idea of the conditioning level of our football team. And then we started camp very slow. We used the catapult system and we measure their loads, and we wanted to avoid soft tissue injuries. And then what happens with COVID is you can have one guy positive and it knocks 8 guys out. And then all of a sudden you're shorted a position, which limits how much the whole team can practice. And again, our numbers of that weren't high. It was just, it would hit certain positions all at once. And so you didn't want to push that position past what was fair to them just for the rest of the football team. And that was part of the guiding principle too, is we weren't going to have a position double or triple their reps and put that group at more risk to benefit the rest of the team. So managing practice every day was a challenge. And our players did a great job of it. I think our coaching staff did a great job of it. But it was not a normal camp. Usually I have a set camp of on this day we do this, and on this day we do this, and we're going to get this load and this conditioning. And this camp, you just had to rock and roll with every day, because every day you were going to get a curveball. And you could have a plan, and at the night before, if you found out somebody had symptoms and didn't even have COVID, but if they had symptoms, we treated that person as if they had COVID and did all the contact tracing until we had a test on them. And in more cases than not, it wasn't COVID, but we still lost those 8 to 10 players for 2 days. Now, we were relieved when it was negative and we got them back, but there was no way to control that. So it was always a balancing act of adjusting practice. And, today we're down receivers, so we'll do more inside run. The next day we're down, O-linemen, so we'll do more perimeter stuff. It was trying to maximize the work you could do with the players that you had.
If I could follow up, the coolness of having College game day at Truist Field and the idea of the number 1 team coming in, and then you're going to be in a situation where your fans aren't going to be able to be there. How do you think that's going to affect the day and how y'all manage it, and how the players on each team might react to watching BYU Navy last night seemed like such a bizarre circumstance in the absence of anybody being there.
Rick, it's all love, man. I mean it. Are you kidding me? College game days come to Winston-Salem. They've never, ever done that in the history of the show. I mean, it is what it is. We're in a pandemic, but we're going to celebrate the fact that they're coming. Certainly the opponent has something to do with why they're coming, but I think what we've accomplished as a program the last 3-4 years is part of the reason they're coming. So we're excited. We're embracing every aspect of it. Control the controllables. You know, we can't control there's a pandemic. We can't control what the governor of North Carolina decides how many fans are in the stands. We control our preparation, and we're excited to play football. So we're not going to complain, bemoan. It's all great. We get to play college football on game days here, and we're on national television, and we love it.
Thanks.
Hey, Dave, I'm just kind of guessing based upon the fact that there weren't too many surprises on the two deep depth chart today, that you're saying that there will be guys on the depth chart who probably won't be available Saturday because of COVID. And I guess we just won't know until they're not on the field.
You won't know till kickoff, and I may not know till kickoff. You know, we're doing these tests on Friday that we don't get the results till Saturday. So I don't know if there's any coach in the country right now that's handing out a depth chart that knows if that's their real depth chart or not. I mean, I may appeal for a few extra years of eligibility here, and maybe I can hold a little bit. So it's the unknown, Les. So we haven't put anything on our depth chart that's deceptive. But things can change. And what changes between Tuesday and Saturday, I don't know. You know, we've got 2 more rounds of testing that we have to go through. So based on the last round of testing, we're good. But what we learn Wednesday to Thursday or Friday to Saturday, there could be a lot of changes.
In regards to the depth chart, how do you like the way your secondary came to fruition during fall camp? Were you happy with what you saw back there?
Yeah, there's parts of it. I mean, the big news is Nasir Greer is ready to go. That was great news for us that we got in the last 2 weeks. Some younger guys have really stepped up. I think Jasir Taylor is playing at a really high level. We've had some nice surprises in camp from freshmen, but it's going to evolve. And if you look at us on defense, I think 10 of our players have started before. So Luke Masterson, Nasir Greer, Jasir Taylor, Jaquez, Ryan Smenda, Trey Red, the whole front 4, all those guys have started before. So you're really talking about one position, and we got a bunch of candidates there. So overall, I think we'll be improved. Again, week 1 will be one of the toughest tests we have all year, but that's a great way to break in.
Dave, talking about, first of all, thanks for doing this. Hope you're doing well.
Thanks, Ed. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You look like you're about to go fishing there. Is that where you are? Or is that really a backdrop?
That's the backdrop, but I've got a real lake in front of me. So yes, I'm getting ready to go fishing. So do you have any idea what Clemson's situation is in COVID? And is there a health and safety sharing of information that goes on at the league level or
no. I mean, it's, these things are, I think there's a level of transparency we'd like to have. And then there's also the competitive aspect of things that if you're not mandated to do it, why would you share information that's not going to help your football team? So, we're going to show up with a roster and we're going to see who's out there for Clemson pregame, and they'll do the same thing with us. And then we'll guess who's playing and not playing. And again, until the league or the NCAA mandates that you have to share that stuff, and we tried to do that a few years ago, and then it became, upper body, lower body. I mean, it's just, it just didn't work. And, so it's not wanting to be transparent, but there's also different laws and privacy things that in college football that we're accountable for. So we're trying to be, we'll have players out, and if they're not out there in a uniform, it doesn't necessarily mean it's COVID related. They could have other injuries or have other issues. So I think it would be wrong if anybody who doesn't play that you assume it's COVID or contact tracing. There's just going to be players that aren't available, and some may be for COVID and some might be for other injuries.
Hey, Coach. Now that we're recording, I have a football question for you. So, with Clemson week 1, you don't really get any kind of gradual easing into the season. It's kind of like you're climbing the highest peak right away. So, how prepared do you feel your team is to take on Clemson and just get into the season with everything you've gone through with camp and COVID regulations?
I mean, for openers, I never feel like we're ready. I think that's just the anxiety of a coach. You'd always like to have another practice, another day, but the season starts in 4 days, and we're preparing as we normally do and getting ready for whatever curveballs may come our way. But obviously, Clemson is a great opponent, and when you open with an opponent of this caliber, the challenge is greater, and there's going to be more adversity that we face in this game and maybe other openers that we faced, and we realize that. But, the ACC probably felt there was only one team in the country that could handle Clemson in the opener, and it's the same team that they always feel can handle weeknight football games, and the same team that they felt could handle Clemson and Florida State back-to-back a few years ago, and that's Wake Forest. So we take great pride that we think the ACC thinks that Wake Forest is the one program that can handle this.
Dave, the pandemic has provided an opportunity to teach, as everything does. I know you as a coach take those opportunities seriously. How have you and your coaching staff used it to maybe widen players' perspectives?
Well, I think there's a number of things, Dave, that you have the pandemic. You have issues of social injustice. You have the economy, which a lot of people have lost their jobs. And these kind of three storms mixing together, I think has created some much needed dialogue that's happened in our program. I feel to some degree that right now the relationships in our program are more honest than they've ever been. I don't feel there's any subject with our players that we can't talk about. There's no, don't go there, it's not football. Everything is wide open. And I think overall it's been incredibly healthy for the relationships that we have with our players, that the relationships we have on our staff, the relationships that teammates have. I think some of the relationships between our white players and our black players has gotten even closer through these last 4 or 5 months. I think obviously there's been a lot of things that are not good, but I think there's been some incredible silver linings that have come from the pandemic and everything happened in our country, that it's forced dialogue that is probably needed to happen for decades. And I think we're now at a point that we're much more comfortable talking about issues like that. Our players felt very strongly that with the audience we have with game day and having the game on national television, that they wanted to make a statement with Black Lives Matter. And so we're going to have different things on our helmets and emblems and sayings. And, we're going to have a big audience. And the players at Wake Forest, they didn't want to boycott practice. They felt they had an opportunity and a platform with our first game to make some statements and to show that we are unified as a program and as a football team. And I'm really proud of the things that they came up with. What would you guys like to do? What's important to you? And a lot of those things that they wanted, we're doing. And the whole program, there's complete support. There's no division on any of this in our team. So I'm really proud of our guys. So again, there's been some challenges, but a ton of silver linings that I think will carry well past the 2020 season and COVID. I think there's going to be a lot of positives that come out of this.
Hey, Dave, have you done anything as far as maybe playing a couple of people outside of their natural positions or whatever, just to prepare for eventualities in a fluid roster situation like the season might be?
Absolutely. We have never cross-trained players at more positions than ever before. And, and some of them you would think are natural, corner, safety, guard, tackle, but it's been more than that. So we've really looked at the whole roster. And if we get stuck, could this guy move here? Do we give him a few reps there? You just don't want to be caught on a Saturday morning that you find out you're down these 6 people and you got to make a quick adjustment. So that'll still be challenging. It'll be hard. Competitively it'll be tough, but we'll still be able to play the football game.
Coach, you mentioned your players making statements on Saturday. How much have you encouraged your guys to use their platform as far as the social justice issues that are going on, and how much do you encourage them?
We encourage them all the time. They have a voice. It's never been more listened to, maybe in the history of college football. And I think it's important that they do it responsibly. But at Wake Forest, our players do an incredible job with that. I mean, if you watch the videos that our players put together, if you look at the statements that our players have made on social media, like you would expect from a Wake Forest football player, it's thoughtful. It's intentional, and it's very to the point. And I think because of the way that our players have handled it, it has made our football team closer. So again, when adversity hits, it can either unify you or break you. And I think everything that's happened the last 6 months, I feel our football team right now is extremely close, and they're going to have to be. And I even think some of the sacrifices they've had to make to play college football this year have made them closer. There's a respect level for every single player on our football team, from the captains and the starting quarterback to the 6th string outside linebacker, because we've all made the same sacrifice to do this. It's not like in other years that, hey, if you just want to be on the football team so you can put it on your resume, and when you're out socially, you say you're a football player. That does not exist this year. If you're on our football team, you're adhering to protocols and procedures, and you're going to have to exhibit discipline that you wouldn't have to before. And so far, we've handled that extremely well. And my hope is we can handle it well for another 12 weeks.
Dave, was there a position group that surprised you in a positive way this fall? Maybe a group that exceeded your expectations and maybe you're in a better position with now than what you thought?
Well, I'm very excited about our quarterback position. I think we have 3 players that are really capable of playing at a high level and winning football games. There was so much talk in the offseason about what we lost at quarterback, and I look at our quarterback position in our depth chart. I don't know if I've ever felt better about it. Receiver, I think we've really built some depth there. We're good. The positions that we lost people, an offensive skill, in some ways have become some of the deepest positions on the team. Linebacker, I think we have 5 playable linebackers. I think we have 10 playable defensive linemen. The overall depth in some positions, it's better than it's ever been. It's just a matter of managing some of the hits to the depth chart that are inevitably going to happen, and the double whammy is going to be if you get hurt and you have COVID. So those are, I think every team this year is going to end up, at times having a weak link or 2, and then our ability to cover for those links from a week-to-week basis is going to be the coaching challenge.
Dave, Lou Bajak from the state in Columbia. Have you guys decided what you guys are going to do crowd noise-wise with no fans there, and how are you guys going to do that?
Yeah, I talked to Dabble yesterday. I think he wants us to play Ain't No Mountain Higher continuously for 4 hours. Are you guys good with that?
Yeah, he mentioned that today, I think.
Yeah, he had a whole
something like that, yeah.
That he wanted us to play. So I don't know if we're going to exactly accommodate him, but we're still working that out The ACC is going to have policies. We will have some ambient crowd noise. The source of it, the volume level, all those details have to be worked out. And before the game, Dabo and I will meet on the field and we'll go through the levels and make sure that we're both good with it, that we agree on it. So I asked him about the background noise and he brought up a whole bunch of songs he wanted to play. And I said that it wasn't exactly what I was talking about, but I agreed with his taste in music. Although he didn't have Talking Heads on there, so that was, I'd say he had good taste. It's not the taste that I have. All right, you guys you're all good? Lauren, we got this thing recorded for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Pick and choose wisely. I'll watch it. If I didn't like what you picked, we're not letting you record it next week.
Okay, we were actually just going to run this entire 40-minute Zoom call on WXII. Nothing else to talk about.
Lauren, you do that, man. The ratings will be through the roof.
They will.
They will. It's just, you'll make me do this every week just to get that advertising budget going up.
Yep, your 40 minutes of fame.
Yeah. If you edit it, you could turn it into an hour show. Then we'd really be talking.
You got it. You can come on our advertising team too.
Absolutely. So, I took a pay cut here, so I'm looking to make a little bit on the side. So maybe that's something I could do.
Thank you for the time today.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
If everybody wants to stay on, I've got Nick Sciba here next for you, and I'll cue him up, and then we'll have Ryan Smenda right after that.
How's everybody doing?
What's up, Nick?
What's going on?
Ready to go?
Absolutely.
Cool. Nick, it's been a long summer. Did you ever think we wouldn't get to this point and we wouldn't be playing football in September?
I feel like there was always that little thought in the back of my mind, like, this might not happen. But I try to keep those thoughts out of my head. I try to keep a positive mindset towards it. And I just tried to keep my nose to the grindstone and just keep working and just keep thinking that this is going to happen. And lucky enough, here we are.
What did you do to kind of keep yourself focused? Is that tuning off social media? Is it turning off the TV? Like, what's the key to kind of keeping your head down?
Definitely not paying attention to social media, because there's a lot of things out there that can keep you away from focusing on what you have to do. But this offseason, I had to focus a lot on having a new snapper and a new holder, which is Jacob Zur and Zach Murphy. So, I lost Don Maggio and Dane Demel, who were not only two of the greatest guys I've ever known, but two of the best players at their position that have been at Wake. So I've been working a lot with Murph, with the holds, getting him how I like them, and getting Jacob ready to be a freshman and be thrown into the fire, kind of how I was. So I'm kind of helping him through the mentality that I had to go through and what's expected of him.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that first semester in those spring practices made a pretty big jump from there to that fall camp your freshman year. Right? I mean, I'm not.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah. So when I first came here, so I wasn't supposed to come mid-year. I came mid-year because of Jesse Bates. When he left early, I got a call 2 weeks out of having to come from Coach Lindenberg saying, "Hey, we think we might want you to come early." So I've told the story 1,000 times, but I was sitting at a Japanese restaurant with my girlfriend, and he calls me and is like, "Hey, we want you to come early." I'm like, "Well, okay, I'll be there." So luckily, I had done enough in school. I had the credits to where I could leave early, so that's what I did. And when I first got here, it was rough. In the first spring here, I think my percentage was like 54% or something like that, something crazy low like that. But after that spring, when I was at home, I was kicking with my coach. I was focused. I'd never kicked that bad before in my life. And so it kind of was a wake-up call. It was a slap in the face, like, hey, get your butt in gear. Like, it's time to go. So now I'm here now, and I'm just ready for this season.
How much of the improvement was speeding up the operation time?
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. Was I was slow with the operation time because, in high school you're not thinking about that. You don't have people coming on the edge who are as fast as players in the ACC or D linemen that are 6'7", jumping up, blocking kicks. So I had to work through that. I had to work on getting more height on my ball, but definitely the operation time was the biggest factor.
So now that brings me to, we kind of made a roundabout here, but with a new holder, with a new snapper, is it kind of now on you to speed up their operation times, whereas, going back to the summer 2 years ago, you needed to speed yours up?
It's all together, so it's each point. And I think that after this week's practice and practice last week, I feel like we're ready. Our times have been good. We've been smooth, and it feels like the old days, if you will. So I'm excited, and I feel confident in both of them. I think they're both ready, and now it's just time for game day.
And one more thing, is Murph as good of a quarterback as Dom?
Dom, I'm not too sure Dom would like that question, but Murph can definitely throw the ball. I'm not sure as good as Dom, but we all know that I could probably throw better than both of them, so that's all that matters. I'm just kidding.
You said something technically about Murph holding for you the way you want it held. Is there any one little thing that we might get that is noticeable, or is it just the feel that you've got that you had to mold him your way?
My biggest thing is making sure that he hits the spot. So if you notice, every holder, they put their left hand down, and whenever they catch the ball, they're supposed to put the ball right where they had their fingers on the ground. So that's the biggest key for me. I don't mind a lean anyway. As long as the ball's on the spot, I trust myself to have a good swing and try to make the kick.
And then Coach Clawson loved those little get-togethers with all you specialty guys at the end of practice. How's that going this year?
Oh, yeah, we're still doing it. We do it after every practice. Before he meets with anybody else, he makes sure to meet with us. And the thing is, we don't talk football. We've never talked football. We talk about life, what shows we're watching, how our families are, how school going, things like that. So it's nice.
With the way everybody's wearing out the TVs this day, it could be a pretty extensive list of the shows you're watching, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Everyone has a different show. And every time someone says something that piques his interest, he makes sure to write it down.
Nick, I know this is obvious as hell, but you never want to miss a field goal. But is there at least a part of you that's kind of relieved that you don't have a streak carrying over on you, and there's no weight to getting to an NCAA record?
I tried to keep the streak out of my mind as much as I possibly could without people talking to me about it. But, I mean, of course I wanted to make that kick at Syracuse, but, I mean, it's just how the cookie crumbles. I mean, I missed it, and it's just moving on from that point and on to the next kick. You can't think about it after the fact. You can only grow from it.
Yeah, I don't think I've talked to you since before that Syracuse game even. So,
yeah.
I mean, did something go wrong on that kick that had gone right on the previous 34?
So I'm not making an excuse for the kick at all. I should have made the kick. But I didn't get my steps back in time So I was taking my steps back a little slower, and I kind of looked up and noticed that I didn't have that much time on the play clock, which made me kind of rush myself a little bit. But no matter what, I should make the kick. If I have a good hold and a good snap, there's no excuse.
Hey, Nick, it seems like the primary competition among the specialists this fall was probably at the punter position. You know, since we weren't able to be there at camp this fall because of COVID, how would you kind of break down how that competition played out?
So it was actually a really close competition. It was mainly between Ivan Mora and Zach Murphy. And as you can see on the depth chart, Ivan actually ended up winning the job. Ivan had a really good a really good couple of practices and punted really well at the scrimmages and showed that he can hit different punts, specialty punts, and Murph did as well. It was a really close competition. The only thing that hurt Murph during the competition was he actually fell into contact tracing and he missed 2 weeks of practice. Not sure if I was supposed to share that or not, but it is what it is. I already said it. So, but yeah. But it was a really close competition, but I'm excited to see how Ivan does. He's ready. He's young, but he's been here a while. He got to be mentored by Don Maggio, so he had a really good teacher.
I think if you mention contact tracing, that means you now have to go into contact tracing. I think that's the rule.
I guess I'm screwed then.
Nick,
For Nick.
I've missed talking to you, Nick.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Nick.
Look, Nick.
We'll have Ryan Smenda next.
How's everybody doing today?
Good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain.
Everybody ready? Ryan, I have the benefit of looking at Twitter here while we're going. Like your interests are in the emblems and sayings on the jerseys. What went into the process to decide that you all would be doing that this week?
So obviously, no one's really blind to what's been going on. And, as a leader on this team, we all got together and we decided that, our voices should be heard. And, we perform on the biggest stage and we have the biggest platform. And we thought that, this issue shouldn't go unheard, nor unseen. So we thought it'd be a great idea, every picture that will be taken, we'll have our helmet on and every picture is going to have a fist on it. And, it's just to say, like, we're not going anywhere with these social justice issues, and we're still working, on little things around the campus that we're doing, here in the near future. So, yeah, I really appreciate Coach Clawson for letting us do this.
What kind of things are going on around campus?
We have like a student athlete kind of alliance right now. And we're hoping in the near future to get some rallies going and things like that.
Hey, Ryan, how important is it that you guys use your voices, your social media platforms, just your platforms as athletes to get that message across and get your voices heard?
It's very important because at the end of the day, some guys really feel like if these issues were any more worse, they were questioning whether they wanted to even play this year. So I feel like for just to be able to get to this point and having guys have their voices heard, it's very encouraging. And that's all we wanted was, to have our voices heard. And, like I said earlier, I'm thankful that Coach Clawson let us do this just so that we don't let this issue die down because it's a very prominent issue in our country right now.
What's it meant for the team, to have these conversations and to get your, everybody's perspective on the different things?
I think at first the team was kind of, taken back that these issues were coming up. But, as a black athlete, first of all the black athletes got together and we talked about these issues and then we brought it to the whole team. And, I think our team handled it very well. We're a very mature bunch of guys, bunch of men, I should say. And, we handled it very well. We all came together. I feel like we got even closer. Not to say we weren't as close before, but now it's time to act more as a brotherhood, more as one. Everywhere we move, everywhere we speak, everywhere we walk, everywhere we talk, it's got to be a one message, and that is that we are together and that there's nothing that can separate us.
You mentioned the fist on each side of the helmet.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other displays that'll go with that?
So on the back lining of our helmet, it usually says Wake Forest, but now it's going to say Black Lives Matter.
Ryan, to talk some football, man. Looking at Clemson and their offense, what's the biggest challenge? I mean, you got Trevor Lawrence and Ian back, but looking at the tape, what are some of those challenges that you see?
So I think what the Tigers really do well is they're good at, disguising things, making, the same formations look like the same plays. They're really good at running a lot of different things. So the key for our defense this week is going to be to have our eyes in the right place and to be disciplined. The coaches have been talking a lot about where we need to be, our right footwork, counts and things like that. And I feel like if we can get our eyes in the right place, cleats in the ground, get the call, and be loud, communicate, and run to the football, then I think it's going to be a long night for the Tigers.
Ryan, do you get any benefit of watching tape from games against Clemson for the last 2 years?
Most definitely. I feel like the Tigers, they're a very systematic offense. So, you pick up little cues, little things they do, and, it's going to be very helpful come Saturday.
Ryan, thanks again for your time today. I really appreciate it, man.
Yes,
How did that linebacker room come together over the fall? It seems like, once again, we talked about this a couple times, seems like there's a lot of talent, a lot of depth in that room. What did y'all get accomplished this fall?
One, we became more closer. We started hanging out more. We used to not, hang out as much, but as the dynamic of this country started to shift, we realized that, it's bigger than football. It's about the relationships you build. And, what better relationship to have than the people you meet with the most, you see the most. And so, we started hanging out more. We started watching more tape and just little things like that. And, started getting in contact with, people's families, just, seeing, how they're doing, just little things like that. And, that allowed us to grow as one unit. And, if one messes up, we all mess up. So we had to take the mentality that, we're only as strong as the weakest link. So we had to get everybody on the same accord.
Besides the racial side of the thing, the black and the white, does that go to the age difference too? Does it go to freshmen are more involved now because you guys have reached out a little bit more?
I think it plays a role. I think before, it was kind of difficult to get the freshmen involved because sometimes they're more to themselves. But I think now, more than ever with these, issues going on, we want to get everyone involved, not just sophomores or upperclassmen. This is everybody. This is a Wake Forest issue. And even bigger than that, we need to get our community, Winston-Salem, correct. So in order for us to get Winston-Salem correct, we need to get Wake Forest football and our community correct. So in order for us to do that, we had to get everybody on board, including the incoming freshmen. And I think we've done a very good job of that.
Hey, Ryan, long time no see. Somebody asked me earlier today, do you think, do the players carry the last 2 years with them, or do you flush that kind of like a relief pitcher in baseball gives up a home run and it's right out of his mind? How do you approach that?
Well, you got to look. We look at it as, this is a new year. We got new people, not new people, but we got older faces coming back. And the thing is, we all know how much we've invested into this program. So for us to not put our all, into these past couple of weeks to get ready for arguably the biggest game versus the number one team, it would be ridiculous. So as these older guys have been going into it, it's been more trying to get these younger guys and our depth more prepared for the snaps to come. And, obviously we're not blind to the fact that they've blown us out the past 2 years, okay? But, they're coming to Winston-Salem. They're facing a brand new Wake Forest team, and we're not rolling over for anybody.
Thanks.
Ryan, did you play in the game 2 years ago against them, or was that one that you missed?
I missed that one. I had a hamstring that game.
Okay. Just making sure. I thought you were banged up at the time, but I couldn't remember if you were in there or not.
Yeah, that was one of those games.
So what was last year like for you, the first time actually seeing them up close and being on the field against them?
Well, it was their senior night, so we kind of knew they would have an extra edge to them. But, all the guys still went in the game with this same mentality. Like, they're going to have to line up. They're going to have to play Wake Forest. The ball didn't bounce or the ball didn't roll our way, but you got to learn from it. You got to take it on the chin. You got to go back to practice. You got to get ready for the next week.
Anything else for Ryan? All right, thanks, guys. We're going to have Zach Tom here next.
Thanks, Ryan.
He'll be our last player for the day.
How y'all doing today?
Good, Zach. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Thank you.
Everybody ready? Okay. I'm not ready. Zach, we just talked to Coach Clawson and we talked to Ryan a little bit about this. You guys are going to have, sounds like, fists on each side of your helmets and then black matter across the back. I was wondering if you could tell me what that means to you and what the conversations have been like to get to this point where you guys were going to be doing that.
Yeah, it definitely meant a lot to me. We came together as like a leadership group and wanted to do something to honor, like, or not really honor, but to kind of like put a like notice out there for the racial injustice on our uniforms. So it definitely meant a lot that we were able to do that, and it'll you guys will see it on Saturday.
And the conversations that led up to that, those have been powerful. Those have been passionate. Like, how would you describe those?
Yeah. We've definitely we've had many conversations about many uncomfortable conversations about that, and I feel like we're on this team. I think we're making progress towards taking notice of the racial injustice in our country, and I think we've had a lot of productive discussions about that.
Zach, I mean, how important you guys have the national stage to be able to display these images on your helmets. How important is it for you guys to make that statement and to get, to put the focus back on, social injustice?
Oh, it's very important. A lot of times, maybe fans just see college athletes as just, as just that, college athletes. But like, at the end of the day, we're also people, and we have our feelings as well. So it'll be nice to finally be able to show them on especially a national stage, national TV, and for the rest of the country to see.
Do you feel like some sense of responsibility, being that you guys have the social media platforms, all the ways to get that message out? Do you feel like that's something that's important for you guys to do?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I feel like, yeah, like you said, I feel like it is our responsibility to put that on notice. It would it's important to us to be able to use our platform to be able to send a message.
Coach talked about how some of those uncomfortable conversations might have made you guys even closer as a team, and it could be really beneficial. Have you had a chance to reach out to anybody on any other teams, ex-teammates that you played with in high school or anything, and see how things are going in other camps and get a feel for that at all? Is it a nationwide thing? What's your feeling about that?
I haven't actually gotten a chance to reach out to my former teammates, but just looking on social media, it seems like people are passionate about it. So I feel like it definitely is it's definitely a widespread thing, a feeling that people have, and that's going on in other college programs.
Zach, how would you best describe how the offensive line came together this fall? Is probably one of the bigger question marks on the depth chart is who would earn starting spots and what that rotation would be. Where do you think you guys are at, and are you ready for game one?
Yeah, I think we did a very good job of developing depth here, and I feel very good about where we're at right now. We obviously Terrence isn't going to be playing this year, so that was a big loss. But I feel like we did come together. We got way better during camp, and developed some of the younger guys to be ready to play, because obviously that'll be more important than ever this year.
Zach, what's been the biggest challenge the last 2 years in moving the ball against Clemson?
At the end of the day, it comes down to execution, and I don't think anybody thinks, or no, we didn't do a good job of executing against them the past 2 years, especially. So that's a big point of emphasis. Do your job. That's going to be a big focus this week to just make sure you do your job, and everything else will take care of itself.
Is it even worth watching the tape from those last 2 years, or are those just throw them out? There's not much execution on here.
Well, yeah, it's definitely worth watching. Just to see any tape is really worth watching. Obviously, you can get better from anything, but it's definitely worth watching, because there are some plays that obviously the games weren't close, but there were definitely some plays where maybe there was just one small mess up that if we got it fixed, maybe we have an efficient play. But yeah, it's worth watching, even no matter how tough it might be.
What did they do that makes them so tough defensively, especially up front?
They do a lot defensively, but I'd say the biggest thing is they have a lot of really talented players, and so obviously when you're playing talented players, you have to execute and focus on the details, and I don't think that's something we did very well last year or the year before.
Zach, the running game, Kenneth Walker had some big moments last year as a true freshman. How has he looked in fall camp? Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see him or Christian Beal-Smith, but how's the running game? How do you think y'all are playing heading into Clemson? How do you think they're looking?
I feel very good about our running backs. I think we have a lot of talent and depth in that room. I'd feel good about any of them playing. I think they run the ball hard. They break tackles. They're fast. So I definitely feel good about them going into this game.
How important is it to establish that run game against Clemson and their defense?
Oh, it's very important to be able to prove that you're running, because if you can establish it, the running game, then it opens up things on the outside. So I think it's definitely be important to establish the running game early.
Zach, Coach Clawson's mentioned a couple times to us that you guys not being able to be on campus in April, May, June really affected the conditioning levels when you guys got back. I'm wondering, what percentage are you at this point compared to a normal year of being able to, or thinking you'll be able to sustain 70 to 80 plays in a game?
He made it a point of emphasis during camp, and we were doing maybe a little more this camp than we would in years past. So I definitely feel good about where I'm at to be able to play a game because of that. And so, yeah, I feel pretty much where I would, in a normal year.
Anything else for Zach? All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Appreciate you. All right. That will do us for today. And again, let us know if you guys have any questions or anything that we can help you out ahead of game time.